You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a damn if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna fucking do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions, they blocking your vision. But no, you can't listen, that shit is all fiction. Cause you hold the power as long as you're dreaming.
There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Are you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Are you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Fight back. You ain't gonna make it, you ain't never ever gonna break it. You can never beat them and they're better than you face it. Thinking that they give a damn, you're not, think a straight kid. No, they don't give a damn, you got what I'm saying? I'm not fucking playing, I'll give it to you straight, man. There's too many others and you're not that great, man. Stop what you're saying, stop what you're making. Everybody here knows that you just faking. Nah, I don't wanna hear it anymore, I don't wanna hear it anymore. All these fucking thoughts, they are not what I need anymore. I'm about to shut the motherfucking door on all you poor ass haters with your heads in the clouds, talking out loud so proud. You better shut your goddamn mouth before I do more, speak out. It's about to head south. Never gonna make it. There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Are you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Are you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Fight back.
Touch, and I will show you just one's enough. I'll bet it's flowing now, but no, go hard, but no, let's pop, but no. What am I doing wrong? I feel your clutch pulling me through. I try not to rush to impress you now, but no, go hard, but no, let's pop, but no. What am I doing wrong now? But no, go hard, but no, let's pop, but no. What am I doing wrong now? But no, go hard, but no, let's pop, but no. What am I doing wrong? let's pop and no. What am I doing wrong now? But no, go pop and no, let's pop and no.
You're like a blessing. Oh, I wasn't waiting for you, wasn't waiting for you. Yeah, I was just wasting. Oh my time living without you, time living without you. Yeah, like a rocket on a planet, that's how I feel. You're so gorgeous and you know it, you can't be real. And you use it to confuse me, but in the best ways. You make my day. Baby, keep loving, keep loving me just like you do it, like you do it, like you hits don't lift, so we keep growing just like we do it, like you do it, like you. Some bad wishes from people that don't really understand the feeling that we
Guys,
there's gonna be some bad
hey guys,
from people that don't really
welcome,
understand that we have, baby, keep
welcome. How you guys doing? Let me switch over to, like, no, that's not what I want, this is what I want. Hello everyone. Hello. Welcome. Oh god damn it, hang on. I hate worlds where I have music playing the instant I load in. It's always so annoying. Yeah, hello everyone, welcome. Welcome. How you guys doing? Oh wow, the lighting over here is it's a little bit harsher than I would hope it'll be. Hang on, let me fix this. Let me fix the lighting real quick. There we go. You don't want to have harsh shadows on your face. Harsh shadows on your face don't look good. Hello everyone, how's it going? Hang on. What if I'm over here? Do I produce harsh shadows if I stand here? Yeah, it's a little bit harsh, so let's do this. There we go. Hello, Unlucky. Hello, Epic. Welcome. Manic. Hello, Manic. Welcome. How are you guys doing? Welcome. Guys. I need some very important input from you guys. Guys. Good. Glad to hear you're doing good. But I've not been doing that good this week. I've been really stressed, and there's one thing that's been stressing me out. Guys, one thing that's been stressing me out. You see this? This? I need your input, guys. Is this horn good? Does it look good? Does it look bad? Hang on, let me turn on smooth and focus. There we go. Yes, the horn. How's the horn look? Does it look good? Does it look bad? I'm not sure. But the horn has been stressing me out a lot all week. In fact, my avatar upgrade project is stalled now because of this horn. I'm nervous, chat. I'm nervous. I need you guys to let me know. Is the horn looks horny? Looks good. Here's the thing, chat. Here's the thing. The reason why my upgrade was stalled is because hang on. Let me show you. Let me show you guys what it used to look like. I made a change to the horn. Where is it? Okay, give me a second, guys. Give me a second. Okay. So this is the horn prior. Before I changed it, and I changed it because I was looking at myself and I was like, it doesn't look balanced. It feels like it's off, the balance is off. And I felt like I needed to change it a little bit, and I was staring at this damn horn for the past... Okay, technically I was only really stuck since 2 days ago. That's when my avatar upgrade ground to a halt. But before that, throughout the entire time of doing the upgrade debut for you guys, I was staring at horn and I'm like, this doesn't look right. This doesn't look right. But guys, looking at this, would you say that the other horn is better? Question mark? What do you guys think? Do you think it looks better? The other one looks better, or does this one look better? I'm not sure. I'm nervous. I've been stuck on this. I can't progress with my avatar upgrade as long as I'm stuck here. Chat. I need help. Help me. Let me figure out if the change is good or not. If it's okay, is it good enough, or do I need to keep going and make more changes? Yeah, you guys have no idea. I've been agonizing. I've been so stressed out. Chat, you have no idea. I feel like I'm going crazy. And when I get stressed out like this, feeling like I need to make progress, and something happens to stop me from. Hang on a second, fucking collider. The fuck is caustics? Really? Can I not get rid of the fucking collider? Oh, fuck you too! Oh yeah, when I get really stressed out like this, I start feeling like I need to make progress on something, but I can't proceed because I'm unsure about a decision. I get super stressed out, and I don't deal with it very well, and it's part of the reason why I'm an hour late for stream today. I'm really sorry. So guys, help me figure out if this change to the horn looks good. Guys, please help me. Please, I need your help figuring this out. I think it looks better, but does it look, it's right? Both are good. Well, the other one I feel doesn't look as good as this version, but I'm not sure if I need to make some more adjustments. Chat, what do you guys think? Do I need to make more adjustments or no? I don't know. I'm stressed out. I'm staring at myself in the camera right now, trying to see if it looks good. I think it feels a lot more balanced than the other horn. The only question is does it look good? I'm a lot happier with how it looks now. Stop spreading out, everything is good. I can't not stress chat. This is okay. Just let you guys know something about me. I stress out a lot when it comes to creative decisions like these. Creative decisions where there's no right answer, or at the very least, it's subjective, subjective. It's artistic, creative stuff. Okay, there's things that you can do to improve or avoid when it comes to creative stuff. Like part of the reason why I care so much about audio is because audio matters a lot when it comes to streaming. So I try to make sure that my audio is good. That's important as a streamer. It's important to make sure your audio is good as a streamer. Because audio is like, even if people aren't audiophiles, your ears and your brain know pleasant sounds, or I should say your brain subconsciously knows sounds that are grating, and you will naturally want to avoid it. So having audio that's pleasant is important for a streamer. So I spend a lot of time with it, but that with audio, I can trust my own ears with audio, but with appearances, appearances is harder to trust my own judgment because like something you guys need to know, chat. Whenever I design my avatars and models and stuff, I go through a ton of iterations. In fact, this model right now, I think it's on its like 35th upload onto VRChat or something like that. I have made so many minute changes to this avatar in the last 2 weeks. It's crazy. It's I need to look good, chat. I need to look good for you guys. And perhaps most importantly, I need to settle on a look that I won't eventually look back at in the future and be like, shit, this is a problem, shit, I need to change this, shit, changing it is gonna be such a hassle, shit, you know, because it's better to have a base prepped before you branch out rather than trying to change something across multiple branches, you know. So yeah, I'm stressed. I was so stressed out. In fact, I am still stressed out over this. Oh no. I think. Even though the last, I would say, day and a half of avatar upgrade has been wasted worrying about this, I think I'm a lot happier with the horn as it is now as opposed to before. I think yeah, I think it looks a lot better. Now the only thing I need to think about adjusting is the ear. The ear, I feel it's too low. Is the ear too low? I feel like the ear is too low. Maybe I should raise the ear a little bit. What do you guys think? Is the ear too low? I'm not worried about the ear shape itself, I'm just worried about where the ear joins with the head. You think it's too low? It feels I don't know. What do you guys think? Think the ear's good or no? Or do I need to, like, maybe raise it just a little bit? Oh no. I feel like maybe it has to be raised a little bit. Or alternatively, I also considered using a different ear. Buying a different ear to use. Maybe it's too big? think artificial's overthinking everything. He just needs to chill. I have to look good, chat. I'll look good for you guys. I need to make sure I look presentable. Yeah. Like you guys are seeing just how insecure I am about some stuff. Hi Louis, welcome. Louis. Glad you're here, Louis. Help me. Horn and ear, do they look good? Do I need to adjust it more? You guys, let me know. Do I need to adjust horn and ear more or no? I think the horn is in a good place, but what about ear? Do I need to adjust ear? It look good? No, did you not think I should move the ear up a little? Like it's not exactly connected to my head, right? Does it not look like it's connected to here? Maybe I should move it lower. And tilt it down a little bit, like so. Maybe like this. Nah, I don't want to go for the floppy ear look. But, is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay? Hang on, let me check this. Chat, let me check this. Is this, you see the seam anywhere? No. You think it's fine? Once I commit to a very specific mesh setup, making changes to it after I start exporting to desktop mode, it's gonna be so much harder. Before you stress over this thing, see off. It's good your hair is fine, the eyes look fine, the tail's fine. Okay, here's the thing, chat. Here's another thing. Some other thing I've been stressing over. Chat. I need to figure out a good desktop outfit. I was actually thinking of buying a parka to wear over because I'm thinking, you know what, this sweater, do you think the sweater looks okay, or do you think, imagine if it was like this and a parka over here, you think that would look good? I'm planning desktop outfit, parka, no belt, or do you think this looks good as a desktop outfit? Feels like something's missing. Feels like I need more. I'm not sure. Feels like I need more. This is my current tentative plan for a desktop outfit. What do you guys think? Do you think it looks so good as a desktop outfit? Would you guys like this for a desktop streaming outfit? Or does it feel like something's missing up here? I don't know. It feels like something is missing up here. I mean, I do have my hair. My hair does serve as a good accessory for my upper portion, but still, I really like down. Oops, hang on. Sorry about that. I really like down here, all the way to here. This looks really good, but here, feels like something's missing. Feels like something's missing. What do you guys think of that? Do you guys think this works as a desktop outfit? Or since the desktop outfit has one glove here, maybe I should remove one sock so that there's only sock on this leg and no sock on this leg. That way, you know, it's balanced with glove on one side, sock on the other side. What do you guys think? You think that'll work? Glove on one side, sock on the other side? Hello, Akmal. Welcome. You know, I used to know someone named Akmal. Sorry, I can't read. I remember that this script has a very specific name. What is the name of that script? Hang on. Let me look this up. There's a very specific Arabic. There is a very specific name for it that we have here. Oh. There's a very right, Jawi. That's what we know the script as here. Jawi. Around here, that script is known as Jawi. At least in the Malay language, it's called Jawi. I'm not sure if the Arabic, if it's called Jawi in Arabic, but it's called Jawi in Malay. Arabic Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, Indonesian Arab, Indonesia and Arab English, the two saja. This is a English stream, so I appreciate it if you were to speak in English for everyone. Akmal, even though I understand Malay. Aku boleh cakap bahasa Melayu, tapi banyakku penonton tak faham bahasa Indonesia ataupun bahasa Melayu. Jadi tolong cakap bahasa Inggris. Wow, it's been years since I've had to converse in Malay, but yeah, I basically asked Akmal to speak in English if he doesn't mind. Terima kasih. You have to go goodbye. Oh, you have to go already? Alright. Thank you so much for being here, Lucky. Thank you for your input, even though it seemed like I was ignoring it and stressing out. Anyway, thank you so much. Good luck with your day. And Lucky. I'll see you around. Bye-bye. Oh, before, just in case you're still here, Unlucky, we need coffee. Check. Let's get some coffee. Where's my coffee? I've had to put my coffee cup further away today because I accidentally got the wrong my brain is drawing a blank right now. I actually got the wrong cup cover, so everyone grab your drinks. Remember, it doesn't matter what you're drinking, as long as you're here for the moment chat. It can be coffee, tea, beer, root beer, water, anything you have. As long as you're here chat, grab your drinks, anyone. Going in 3, 2, 1. Pink bye. Cheers. Oh, drink. You want another cheers? Right? We can do another cheers. Let's do another cheers. More coffee. I don't mind drinking coffee quicker. Because I technically didn't sleep last night. I only napped for about 5 to 6 hours. Everyone, grab your drinks. Cream pie. Round 2 now. Good coffee. How play on all night? I'm playing VRChat. Did I forget to? I forgot to change the game category. Let me change that. Sorry, I forgot to change the game category. Thank you for asking me that. Because apparently I forgot to change it. Manganto? He's asking me if I'm sleepy. A little bit sleepy. Yeah, I didn't get good sleep last night because of this problem. I'm not sure about the ear and the horn of my avatar. I'm still in the process of upgrading, and getting the upgrade right is really stressful for me, so yeah. But I think I'm quite happy with where most things are right now. I'm just staring at the ear. I'm staring at the ear. Might tweak the ear a little bit. I might tweak the ear a little bit. I'm not entirely sure about it. Just oh, by the way, guys, there's another room in this world. Do you guys want to check it out with me? There's a room that you always see Doomy standing in. Oh, this looks cool. Fish. Aw, can play with the fish. Let me see, which way does the light fall? This is good, I think. Unless we move a little bit this way. Yeah, moving this way shifts the light a little bit. I want the light to get us just right. There we go. Yeah, I think most of the changes are good. I think maybe I'll still stressing out over that stuff. I think maybe it's okay. Maybe. What is it called? Ruminating over this decision. I mean, spending way too much time going over it again and again and again, trying to think about whether it's the right decision or not. I don't know. I think. I think you know what? Okay, I think. Okay. I think. Enough ruminating. Commit. It's time to commit, chat. Hi, fish. Little goldfish. I think it's time to commit, chat. It's time to commit. Oh, by the way, chat. You wanna see a new outfit I was working on? You guys wanna see a really nice outfit? Technically, the outfit has been updated with the new horn yet, but I will update it with a new horn. I posted one picture of the outfit so far. Would you guys like to see the new outfit? You? Oh? Hang on. Be right there, chat. Be right there. I'll be right back. Don't be quiet, I'm changing now. Here. There we go. Ta-da! Hang on, Mike. Why is my controller fucking up right now? Controller? Are you gonna let go of the camera or no? There we go. Well, technically this is an old outfit, but it's making a return with a new toy. It's hot and sexy. That's not good. Maniac, that's not good. I'm a nun. I'm supposed to help you guys, you know, purge your sin and cleanse your soul. Right, chat? Right? It's not good if you know, I were to tempt you with my sinful body. I need to make sure you guys are clean. I need to make sure you guys are clean. So like, stay right there while I blast the sin out of you. Yep, right. This is, if you guys ever watch Trigun, this is obviously inspired by Nicholas from Trigun. I can even rotate the cross over and carry it like this. I really like this outfit. Looks so cool. So cool, chat here. I love Nicholas Wolfwood's outfit. I have a cannon here as well. Sadly, no sound and no particle effects because I never actually learned how to do that. Maybe one day I'll update this with sound and particle effects, but for now, it's just got transformer and stuff. I need to figure out how to make it smoother so that it's less bad to tell. I'll try to figure out a way to make it down to my hand, smoother. Go to me kisses you. Go to what? Go to what? Sorry, I'm not sure I understand your best. No, you guys are the best. You guys are the best for being here and checking in on me. I won't be able to do this without you guys here. You guys are amazing, Chen. All of you. Yeah, I need to replace the horn. Oh, you want kisses? Is it appropriate for a nun to give kisses, Chad? I'm not sure. Chad, is it appropriate? Is it appropriate for me to give you guys kisses? I'm not sure. Oh, hang on. Let me put this here. Can I? I suppose I could give you kisses if you guys have been good, chat. Have you guys been good? Have you been good, little boys and girls in chat? Be honest with me now. Have you been good? I won't give you a kiss until you answer truthfully. Excuse me. Excuse me, coughing. You is best. Nah, you guys are the best. Yeah. Also, have you guys been good? Are you sure you guys deserve kisses? You know what? Okay, there you go. That's all you're getting. No, you is best. You know, those times like this, I wish I had an Uno reverse card, but sadly I don't have that. Oh well. Hey, shoo, fish. Get out of here. Fish. Get the fuck out of here, fish. You know, speaking of fish, I used to have a lot of goldfish as pets. In fact, it was like one of the first pets that my family ever got. We used to have a lot of goldfish. And when I say a lot of goldfish, I mean we went through a lot of goldfish because one thing I remember a lot, most clearly, about owning goldfish is how often they die. I don't know if we were overfeeding them or not, but yeah, the goldfish died very frequently. How long do goldfish live? I'm curious. Chat, how long? No, I'm actually quite curious. How long do goldfish live? Let me look this up, chat. Let me look this up. I put my wings away and I'm very curious. How long do goldfish live for? How long do goldfish live in a tank? 10 to 15 years? Oh, hell no. My goldfish didn't last that long. I think my goldfish lasted what? A couple of months? A year, maybe? What type of goldfish do we use there? I think we had a lot of like Oranda goldfish. Oh, Oranda. Lifespan 8 to 15 years. Oh, there's no way in hell. The average life of a Oranda goldfish can be 8 to 15 years depending on how well they're cared for. Some Oranda goldfish can live to 20 years. Oh, bloody hell. Oh no. Oh no. Guys, my goldfish usually died after a year. Yeah, my goldfish didn't last very long. Shit, now I feel bad. We were killing our goldfish. Fuck. Why? Okay, hang on, let me ask. Now that I know that we were killing our goldfish, why are my goldfish dying? Unsuitable living conditions for a goldfish. 6 common reasons why my goldfish keep dying. Number 1, poor water quality. Without a doubt, the number 1 killer of goldfish is poor water quality. Goldfish need their water need their water parameters to be within a certain range. When you first add fish, the water is usually just fine. Once you start feeding, the fish start producing waste, ammonia starts building up. In an established aquarium with cytofilter, bacteria keeps the ammonia levels from rising, but in a new tank, there's nothing in there to stop it. In older tanks, lack of a filter is going too long without water changes can cause surges too. Fuck! Fish TV? Unlikely. Overfeeding. Overfeeding causes poor water quality. Even if there's any excess food left over after you're done feeding a fish, they still have eaten more than they should have. This leads to too much fish waste, which is especially dangerous the smaller the environment is. The toxins from the waste can cause ammonia spikes, which hurts the fish. Other bacterial infections, parasitic infection. Fuck. Okay, according to this, and based off of what I remember from what we did to our goldfish, I'm fairly certain our fish tank had improper water. I don't think we had any filter. We had an air bubble thing, but other than that, we don't have water or bacteria stuff. That's probably why our fish kept dying. Fuck. Well, I guess I learned something today. My family are pet murderers. We got so many goldfish, chat. I think we went through like 20 goldfish before my parents finally said, you know what, no more goldfish. I'll tell you something about Chinese families, chat. Chinese families have a they have a tendency to do things that are linked to having status. And one of the things that one of the most common things that Chinese families tend to do that's linked to having status is to have a pet. Either a dog or goldfish. Those are the two most common things. Goldfish is supposed to be lucky, especially. Goldfish brings luck, so yeah. A lot of the times, Chinese families, when they get a dog or a goldfish, well, they get a dog for security and they get a goldfish for feng shui luck. They do not get it because they want to take care of a pet. Because of that, they tend to be quite careless about taking care of pets, and my family is the same. With regards to taking care of pets, they get the pet not because they want a pet, but because they want the pet to fulfill some kind of want besides having a pet, whether it's a dog for security or goldfish for status, axolotl for status, things like that. So yeah, as a result of that, Chinese families tend to be awful pet keepers in general, especially second generation Chinese families. Second, third generation migrant Chinese families, they are really, really awful at keeping pets. My family is no exception. So yeah, we kill our pets, unfortunately. Same with goldfish. And today I learned that my parents didn't take care of the goldfish properly. Oh, it was years ago. I was about to say that, you know, keeping goldfish is a good way to learn about mortality because, you know, my family went to like dozens of goldfish, but I just found out that apparently my family are pet murderers rather than, you know, any failing of goldfish lifespan. My family failed the goldfish rather than the goldfish just dying due to natural causes, so fuck. I'm sorry, chat. I'm sorry. Oh, nothing I can do about it, I guess. You know what, chat? You know what? Let's go to a different world. I wanna go to a different world. A brighter world. A world that has better lighting. Let's go to a different world. There's a recently visited world that... Wait, is this world in my favorites? Where did I put it? It's here. Let's switch to a different world, chat. This is part of figuring out if my horn and ears look good. And to see how it looks. Oops. Sorry about that, chat. Oh, goddammit, hang on. Hang on, let me... Okay, there we go. Hang on, my gun. There we go. Now, I need to turn off music sound, thank you. Now I can turn back on beach sounds. It's a really nice wall. There we go. Jeez, we just get here. Hi Mitchell, welcome. How's it going? Welcome. How you doing, Mitchell? I know it looks like this cross doesn't have weight, but it's an unfortunate reality of how this thing is attached to my hand. I'll figure out a way to have this attached to my hand in a less weightless manner. I have an idea of how to handle it, actually. I think I know how. It's an inspiration from a Nier Automata, but I'll do that off stream. I know how you feel about this outfit. Don't worry about it. Look. I'm fully dressed. I'm standing on a beach and I'm more dressed than my fucking swimsuit. It's fine. And besides, I have a weapon, chat. I have a weapon. There's no loot here. No sound effects, but you can just imagine chunk. No loot or this cannon is going up your ass, and I'm blowing my load. I'm cleansing load inside you. Okay. Alternatively, you guys can get minigun instead. Fully trust debatable. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I have a cross here. I'm wholesome. In fact, I'm gonna stick this cross in this stand, a la Nicholas D. Woofwood. There we go. There, the cross will be there in the background as a reminder of no loot, chat. No loot. And apparently it doesn't matter which way I'm facing in this world for lighting. Oh, that's fine. Oh yeah, Mitchell, I saw what you said about D&D stuff. I could try to give you a crash course. The one looks fine, but like one we just gave it a bit of that. Yeah, I know that the old one gave ridges. I tried to create ridges, but I couldn't. That wasn't the problem with this horn though. This horn, it didn't look balanced. Hang on, let me show you. Technically, we've already gone through. The big question of what to do with my about my horn, but I'll show you for anyone who arrived late the question of how to fix up my horn. This horn is gonna be replaced. It's gonna be replaced with this horn. A horn that's meant to be more balanced with my ear. Because previously the horn and the ear were not balanced, and I'm trying to make it more balanced. So yeah, I much prefer this horn. It looks more balanced. Yeah, it's a purple horn. Yeah. Looks more balanced, but I'm wondering if I should tweak it a little bit more. Feels like it still could use a little bit of tweaking. Just a tiny bit of tweaking. Like maybe reduce the size of the ear a little bit. Yeah, the ear feels like it's too large, so maybe I'll shorten the ear a little bit. Here's the size. I'll just shorten it. I don't need to reduce the size, maybe I just shorten it, flatten it a little. Yeah, you know what? I think that's the main thing that's still off about this. The ear needs to be a little bit more stumpy. But I think yeah, that's all I'm gonna do, chat. I'm gonna make the ear a little bit more stumpy. We're good, chat. We're good. It's solved. Problem solved. We make the ear a little bit more stumpy, and then yes, yeah, then I'll be able to proceed with the avatar upgrade. And this is likely going to become my desktop outfit. Simple, but still me. The only thing I'm unsure about is whether or not I should add a parka or a sort of like a hoodie here. That's one thing I'm not sure about. I've been searching around and I have seen some parkas or ponchos I could, or cloaks, small clothes I could add. I've thought about it. I'm unsure if I want to. It feels like I need it. Do you guys think I should add a little parka or cloak around here? On the hoodie. It's not gonna be a hoodie, it's more like just a little cloak that goes over my shoulders. Almost like a cardigan or something like that. A cardigan, poncho. Yeah. Cardigan, poncho, small cloak. Just to add a little bit of visual distinctiveness to my outfit. That's what I thought. Well, that's what I'm thinking about anyway. I have an idea of a couple of cloaks or parkas or ponchos I could buy, but if I were to do that, then it's going to delay my avatar upgrade a little bit more while I test it out. I've already delayed it just because of this fucking horn. I'm gonna delay it more to add a poncho or something, but a poncho could be nice, and it's something that I've always liked to go over my shoulders. This is something I've always worn. Something over my shoulders. Decisions, chat. Decisions. Should I? I think. I think yes. I've been staring at this outfit for the last 2 days while trying to figure out what to do with the horn as well. And while I like the bottom, it feels like something is missing up here, and a little cloak / poncho would be perfect for up here. So I will try to find something. Yes, a little cloak / poncho over here will still feel like me, but I add a little bit of visual distinctiveness to my looks. So yeah. Now the only thing I'm wondering about is whether or not I remove one of my stockings. One glove on my right side and stocking on my left side. I think I'll make a decision after I try having the little cloak on. I need to see how it looks as an overall outfit. You guys will get to see it, don't worry. I'll post some pictures or even stream it for you guys. A lot of these things, avatar decisions. It's hard to make the decision when I'm staring at the avatar in Blender or in Unity. I have to actually wear it, put it all on, and be like, something doesn't feel right. I look at myself in VR and I'm like, something needs to change. That's how I came to the decision to change the horn, and it's how I think I'm going to shorten the ear a little bit, make it a little more cat-like, and it's how I'm going to make the decision to add the little cloak. So yeah. Oh, okay. Next step of my avatar upgrade project: shorten the ear and add a cloak. That's the next step, and then upload for testing again. Yes. We have a plan. We have a plan. We have a pathway to move forward. Yes. After being stuck for 2 days because of this damn horn, we finally have a pathway forward. Yes. I'm gonna make sure it's perfect, chat. Can you make sure it's perfect? Also, Mitchell, this is why my avatar upgrade project I said would take at least 1 month, if not 2, maybe more, because creative decisions like this, you have to, make the changes, get into VR, stare at yourself for a couple of hours and be like, something doesn't look right, and make changes, and then upload it, and then stare at yourself again and be like, something else needs to change. Like I said earlier, this is the 35th iteration of this avatar I've uploaded to VRChat. VRChat keeps track of how many times you upload a single avatar, and I've uploaded this avatar 35 times, which means I've made 35 changes to this avatar since I uploaded it the first time over the last 2 weeks. You guys don't see most of the iterative changes I made over those 35 uploads. But, help me get this far. And it's gonna help me get further. Hello, Patan. Welcome. How's it going? Welcome, Patan. Hope you're doing okay. You know, it's neurotic about studying as I am, but you don't understand the drive for perfection often cripples me into inactions of poverty for actually soldiering for it. Well, in most cases, I don't care too much. I mean, okay, yeah, I do care about aesthetics, but in this case, I care so much about it because one. This is going to represent me for possibly the next couple of months at the very least. So I need to make sure that the base is good, and then I expand from there. Because once I have the base set in stone and I branch out into like the desktop version fully, it's gonna be really hard for me to make changes. Currently, right now, even though the desktop version is technically on its own brush, like you remember the the shape keys that I spent a lot of time making earlier this week, that's technically on its own branch already, but it's still very close to the main branch that I can easily make changes to, transfer changes between each other. It's just one value swap between each other and I can shift things around very easily. But once I'm like, okay, the base is all set, the desktop branch is going to go off on its own tangent, and once it takes off on its own, it's gonna be a lot harder for me to make base changes, changes to the base over to the desktop version. So I need to make sure that the base is in a relatively stable place before I send it off on its own branch fully. So yeah, and I technically do get crippled by inaction. Relaxing in the sun. Relaxing in the sun here as well. Look at this amazing scenery, chat. Look. There's such amazing scenery. You guys know I always love the beach, chat. I really do love the beach. It's been too long since I've gone to the beach. Maybe I should go again one day. What do you guys think? An amazing view. I've always found the sound of the waves crashing against the shore to be very calming and relaxing, chat. Sadly, there's no moon out because it's daytime, but oh well. I wanted to have a bright, sunny map today. In fact, I'm thinking of getting into my swimsuit, chat. I wonder if I should get into my swimsuit. Maybe later. Yeah, maybe later. Since I'm on the beach, I should take my boots off. It's not good to have boots on when I'm on the beach. For all the dangers and perils, the ocean is a soothing mistress at times. Yeah, it's really nice, actually. I really like the ocean. I mentioned this before, chat, but I'm a registered scuba diver. So I spend a lot of time both on and in the ocean. Like 15 to 20 meters down. In the ocean, scuba diving. Actually, wait, no, I'm only certified to go down to 12 meters. But technically, I've been to 15. Hang on, wait, did I remember that right? Open water certification, is it 12 meters? Paddy, open water, depth allowance. Wait, no. Paddy open water is allowed down to 18 meters. And I remember breaking that limit, so that means I went down all the way to what, 21, 22 meters? Whoops. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I only broke the depth limit for like, I think about 5 minutes, and then I went back up. It's fine. It's fine. One thing that I never actually understand, chat. This is something I never really understood. This is just me personally, but I never understood people who panic when they're underwater. Because you guys know Numi, right? Numi knows? My good friend Numi? Numi panics when it's underwater. Anytime, like there was this one time, was a couple, I think it was only one time, when Numi played Sea of Thieves with me, and he got so stressed out. Anytime he fell into the water, I would hear in his voice the panic when he was trying to get back on the boat. Anytime the shark was coming for me, he felt like, ah! He had a little squeak, and it's different from the squeaks he normally lets out. He was actually really, really stressed out and scared. I'm like, oh, it's really cute, but at the same time, yeah, being scared of being underwater is just something that I never experienced at all. And Numi's not the only person I know who is like this with regards to water. I had a cousin I used to know who, like Numi, was really, really, really scared of. Yeah, let me adjust the camera a little bit. It's really hard to adjust the camera with live control. There we go. Oh yeah, I have a cousin I used to know who is really, really scared of having his head underwater. So much so that he physically panics even in the pool just from putting his head underwater in a section of the pool that he can stand. His whole body panics. Like the water will only be up to here, and if he has to put his head underneath the water to like go under a little like one of those water floating line things on the surface, he will go under and immediately jump back up like a physical instinctive physical reaction to being underwater. He's like, I immediately have to surface again. And I see people like that, and I have never experienced anything remotely similar to that kind of feeling. Every time I try to wrap my head around it, I'm like, I don't feel that at all. And it's something that I've always wondered about all my life. I can understand fear of the unknown when you're diving in the ocean, because even I have feel a slight sense of anxiousness. Just a tiny bit like of anxiety when I'm standing at the, like say, chat, let's say over here. No, let me show you what I'm talking about. Come over here. Say right. Okay. Say we're on a boat. Okay. We're on the edge of a boat, and I'm standing at the edge of the boat, right over here. My training. Hang on, let me bring the cam control here. There we go. So I'm standing at the edge over here. My training tells me to just do a great stride entry into the water, which is basically take one step from the edge and literally walk off the edge of the boat and fall into the water feet first. It's called the great stride entry, and whenever I stand here at the edge of the boat or pier or whatever ready to go into the water, I do feel a slight sense of anxiousness because, you know, fear of the unknown and stuff like that. It is an instinctual thing, but I just calm, remember my training, and in I go. And then once I'm in the water, my comfort, the comfort I feel from being in the water just takes over. And I'm not scared anymore. Soothing, relaxing swim in the water. I wonder if the reason why I'm so okay with it is because my dad taught me how to be okay with being underwater since I was young. It's one of the things my parents taught me since I was a little baby harpy. Since I was a little chick, being okay with the water, being able to submerge my head underwater, hold my breath, being able to dive underwater, swim like literal fishes. Maybe I was just naturalized to being in the water, and that helped me be okay with, you know, being under the water all the time. What's that? Akmal? Oh? Why are you posting a link to yourself, Akmal? Okay, Akmal. Are you trying to... why are you trying to post a link? Are you trying to promote yourself? If you want to promote yourself, you can, but you need to pass the interview first. Oh, hello. Did you delete your own message, Akmal? You can, but yeah, since you posted your link there, you're gonna have to pass the interview first. Submitting the link means you're submitting yourself for the interview. Okay. Yeah, all the day. You joke about QT being a vulture, but it sounds like you might be part seagull, lol. Part penguin maybe, yeah. But yeah. Okay, so Akmal, what type of content do you do on your channel? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. You have to answer this now because yes, you posted your link. You have to answer this now. Time for your interview. Let's hear it. If you don't answer, we'll have to consider this a failed interview. I'm waiting on now. You have 2 minutes to respond. And I know that the delay is only like 15 seconds, so what kind of content do you do? I'm waiting. Taking too long to respond is also bad for interviews. YouTube content copyright? What, do you do that? YouTube content copyright? What? What? Is that what you do on your channel? YouTube content copyrighted stuff? Like what? Come on. Come on. I'm still waiting for you to answer what you do on your channel. Like I said, you have 2 seconds to provide an answer. Hello Leo, welcome. Welcome, welcome. You came in the middle of us conducting an interview of someone who decided to put himself forward for a promo interview. Far and Gallo sing song. Why you keep retracting your message? If you want to pass this interview, you need to leave the message there. Content Gallo sing song. Sing song BSOD. I don't know what that means. What is Content Gallo sing song BSOD? What's that? You're gonna have to clarify what that means. Come on. You're failing this interview, Akmal. Oh, Maka.
Macadé
Maka.
$10. Love you, Artie.
Maka, thank you so much for giving me the $10 tip. Thank you so much, Maka. Thank you. Thank you so much. How you doing, Maka? Love you too. Love you. You don't have to tip me to tell me you love me, Maka. Thank you so much. Talking to a troll, Botra. Looking at time saying, no. They haven't said anything that says that they are a troll or bot, so I want to know. Come on, Akmal. You cannot pull out of the interview because you already posted your YouTube link. Let's hear it. Like I said, you have 2 minutes to submit a proper answer, and technically I've given you 2 extensions already. You have not given us an answer. What type of content do you do? This is your final extension. If you do not give us a satisfactory answer of what type of content you do, then I'm gonna have to declare that this is a failed interview. My horny really sticks out? No, it doesn't. We're standing on the beach. We're just talking about scuba diving. Well, up until Akmal posted his link, his own YouTube link for some reason. Yes, it's Malaysia. That is not an answer. Alright, Akmal. You have failed this interview. Goodbye forever. I'm sorry, Akmal, but them's the rules for posting your own links. Even if you retract it, I can still see the message. Doesn't matter how many times you retract your messages, I can see it. Don't make the mistake of thinking that the streamer can't see your messages, Akmal. But oh well. You failed the interview, so you're gone from the channel forever. Goodbye. Can you submit your answer to me in private? Oh, you don't need to go to the interview, Maka. Maka. Friends of the channel don't need to go to the interview. Or anybody whom I've actually mentioned or showed before also don't need to go through the interview. Only new people whom I can't recognize have to go through the interview because I don't know what you're promoting. I don't know what they're trying to sell to you guys. So it's my responsibility to make sure that anyone who puts their link into my channel at least does not do content that I disagree with. So yeah. Akmal, by submitting his link into chat, decided to put himself up for the interview, and he tried to dodge all the interview questions despite repeated warnings, so he failed. Date night when? If you want specific date night, whenever you want, Maka. I just am really busy. Well, maybe less busy, but more like stressed with the avatar upgrade. I've changed my horn. I'm gonna make a change to my ear and make a change to my dress as well very soon. So, yeah, I'm gonna be adding a little cardigan to, or a cardigan or cloak to my avatar to go with my top and everything. So yeah, lots of little changes that I'm gonna add to my avatar before I think I'm gonna be ready to export it to desktop. I'm sorry I haven't seen you recently, Maka. Or at least... Oh, and I did see you recently. I'm sorry I haven't taken time to spend quality time with you recently, Maka. It's technically the same with a lot of people. I haven't been able to spend quality time with most of my friends. Release all my stress? To be honest, the only thing I really feel like doing when I'm stressed out like this is one, get as much work done as I can, and then when I'm during the odd moments when I feel like getting into VR, I just feel like doing nothing. Just lying down and doing nothing. That's usually my idea of relaxing. Usually my idea of taking a break from work and stress is a do-nothing day. A day where I don't think about anything, I don't think about going on a date, I don't think about meeting anyone, I just sit, do nothing, and let my own mind think up what I want to do on the fly. That's my idea of relaxing usually. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah, it's very hard for people to help me relax because when I feel about calling people to help me relax in advance, that's a date, which is something I plan for, and whenever I have to plan for anything, it no longer counts as relaxing for me. Yes, I know. I'm what you might call a troublesome woman. I want to relax, I want to spend time with people, but at the same time, if I plan to spend time with people, then it's no longer relaxing. Mendoksai on that's what some people would say. Troublesome woman. I'm sorry I'm like this when it comes to relaxing. Well, at the very least, thanks to today's stream, like I mentioned earlier, we have a path forward for my avatar upgrade. The horn is good. I think the horn is in a good place. The ear needs some tweaking, which I will do, and I'm gonna get myself a little hoodie. Well, not a hoodie, because there's gonna be no hood portion for it. More like a parka. Speaking of which, by the way, speaking of pathway forward, Mitchell, you mentioned wanting to ask me for advice on how to do tabletop RPGs, right? Do you want to do it now? Do you want to do it now on stream? Forge, VTT and all that? How am I doing it now? With you and Forge VTT? Live on stream. A live tabletop RPG teaching session for Forge. Well, not Forge, Foundry. Foundry VTT. Something we might do. Maybe something you guys are interested in. Because we may or may not stream the D&D session that Mitchell's going to DM for us over the weekend. I don't know if we're going to be able to prep everything for tomorrow. I think it'll be quite rushed because likely going to require at least a couple of days of prep. So I don't be able to play D&D tomorrow. But if you want to, Mitchell, you want to do a live Foundry learning session for Pathfinder? Sorry, couldn't pause. Oh, that's fine. Hang on. There's something. Oh, god damn it. YouTube Zone. YouTube Zone emails doesn't show up in the YouTube chat here, so it's weird. That's why I was staring at the chat in the stream a couple times, wondering why am I seeing a lot of text when there was no text, but it's just Leah's adorable little emotes. Love you too, Leah. You don't have the software at the moment, so I need to give you a second to get it. So I think Luck is running his game tomorrow, actually. Oh, okay. Well, that's fine then. If tonight is too... If night now is too rushed, then we don't have to do it right now. It's fine. It was just an idea I had. Thinking of whether we should do a live tabletop learning session together. That's fine. Yeah, that's no rush. No pressure. And if Lucky is running his game tomorrow, I'm actually looking forward to it. It's been quite a while since we played Lucky's D&D session, but unfortunately, for Lucky, we're not going to stream it. Lucky's D&D is very, very relaxed and very casual, so it's not a D&D game that makes for good streaming content, unfortunately. Unless I stream it, but it's unlisted. That is an idea. Streaming the session but making it unlisted will allow us to save the session for prosperity. I'll talk to Lucky about it. It'll also allow me to give the link to anyone in Discord who just wants to like see or watch it, but otherwise people who do not explicitly look for the link won't be able to find it. That is an idea. I'll think about it. And I'll check with Lucky about it as well. Whether or not it's comfortable with it. We'll see how the DM feels. Ultimately, how the DM feels is the most important. Why did I go just now? That's not good. Right. Now I've been standing at the edge of the water for so long. I want to go into the water actually, so let's go into the water, Chan. I'm curious about the water actually. As usual, let me get my swimsuit on. Check. First things first. Remove that. No. remove this. Put my top on so that YouTube can't say I'm topless, so I have a proper top. This is making me want to visit the beach and go swimming again. I had to pass that with him. You need to step out and maintain yourself. Be back later. Okay, no problem, Mitchell. The stream will probably go on for about 20 minutes to half an hour more. Drink some water. It's been a while since I drank some water. I'm thirsty. I'm gonna stay hydrated, Chan. It's important to stay hydrated. Green by everyone. Cheers. And time for some more coffee. Everyone, grab your drinks. Remember, it doesn't matter what you're drinking as long as you're here for the moment, champ. It can be coffee, tea, beer, root beer, water, anything you have, champ. As long as you're here. On your 3, 2, 1. Green pie, champ. Cheers. Oh my, nice view. I know, right? The beach is such a nice view, Chad. Look at that amazing beach. Such an amazing view. That island off in the distance. The soft mist on the horizon. This is a view I missed, Chad. Having not gone diving for a while. Oh, one important thing, Chad, that I forgot. I need to put on my goggles. There's one thing I never learned how to do, Chad. In all my years of swimming, diving, I never learned how to swim without goggles on. I have to have goggles. It's something I just can't do. Swimming without goggles. So yeah. I've seen people swim without goggles on, but I tried and I just couldn't do it. As soon as water gets into my eyes, I feel like I have to immediately close my eyes. Just something I can't handle. Maybe that's my kryptonite, chat. You know how I was talking about how I didn't understand how people, couldn't deal with putting their head underwater. And I just couldn't understand it at all. Maybe this is my little problem with swimming that I can't deal with. I can't deal with water getting into my eyes. Oops. You're looking respectfully. You can look at me however you want, Hillier. As far as I'm concerned, as long as you're enjoying yourself, that's all that matters. It's if you like looking at me, then that means you're already respecting me. That's how I like to view it anyway. I'm thirsty. Let me drink more water. I really did talk a lot just now, didn't I? Oh, chat. One slight problem that I've been dealing with, you guys might be aware of. Hang on, let me drink water first. Oh, technically, I owe you guys an explanation. For why I'm late by 1 hour today. Yes, partially has to do with, my stress for doing the avatar upgrade and stuff, but it's kind of oversimplifying what's going on. When I get into when I get stuck on doing something like feeling like I have to progress my avatar upgrade, but at the same time I was stuck on getting my ear and my horn right, I tend to get stuck in a loop of, is this right? Is this not right? Is this right? Is this not right? That kind of thing. And when that happens, I keep telling myself I have to make progress, but at the same time, I can't rush the decision on what to do about my horn and my ear and make creative decisions like that, so I get stuck in a loop of I have to commit to something, but I cannot rush it, but I have to commit to something, but I cannot rush it, so on and so forth, and this goes on for hours, days sometimes, and it happened for the horn. So after my stream, where I did the blend shape stuff, of the last 3.5 days since that stream, 2 of those days were spent just wondering about this, staring at it. Is it good? Is it not good? That kind of thing. And when I get into that rut, I get distracted by a lot of things. I get annoyed, I get pissed, I get really moody, and I'm very... I waste a lot of time, basically. I don't do anything constructive. I just spend time getting stuck in this loop, and it's hard for me to get out of the loop. Usually it runs its course over like a couple of hours or days, And technically it's not good for me to waste so much time. I have to try to find a way to better get myself out of that loop quicker. Doing this stream helped me to get out the loop, but there has to be a different way for me to get out the loop. Or at least a faster way for me to get out of the loop. Maybe I should stream more. If I get stuck on a decision, maybe I should be like, okay, get the horn done. Is it done? I'm not sure. Stream immediately to ask you guys that kind of thing. Maybe I should do something like that. Although technically the horn replacements were done over the last like 12 hours. So yeah, I don't know if I can force the creative juices to flow earlier, but I have to find a way to get it to flow earlier. The horn sticks out a bit, like color-wise, maybe the shader. The horn is meant to stick out a little bit. I'm trying to find a balance between the horn being noticeable and the horn not being too noticeable, you know. Maybe I need to darken it a little bit. The color darkening I can easily change. I think I might just darken the blue to make it a bit more darker blue so that it sticks out a little bit less. Previously, just to go over anybody who missed it, previously, the old problem I was having was, let me show you this. Okay, this is the old problem, chat. This is the old problem. The old problem was that this horn is unbalanced from the ear, and so I spent several days like staring at this, wondering how to fix it. And at one point, I considered going back to the old avatar, and well, specifically the old horn, this old horn here, which is very well made. But the reason why it's very well made is because it's a horn from fucking World of Warcraft, and I need to move away from copyrighted material, or at very least game copyrighted material, so I feel, you know, peace of mind. So I can't use this horn anymore. So I moved away from it, and initially I ended up with this horn. But yeah, like I said, it's unbalanced with this ear. If I want it to be balanced with this ear, the ear has to either go low like so, or I need to do something to make the horn like stick out more horizontally. And in the end, I decided to just switch out the horn mesh entirely for a different option. Decided to switch it out for this. And so, yeah, I ended up with this. Yeah, true, it kind of looks off, yeah. This, from looking at it already, together with you guys in chat, I can tell this looks a lot better than the other horn. It still needs some tweaking, maybe just darken the color a little bit, but I'm quite happy with where the horn is now. It fits the overall balance a bit better. Now the ear needs to be tweaked a little bit. I'm going to shorten the ear a little bit, make it a little bit more stumpy to match the thick stumpiness of the horn. I'm going to shorten the ear a little bit just to match it. And yeah, we already decided on this. And yeah, these are small tweaks that I can easily make. I'm going to make the ear a little more stumpy to match the stumpy look of the horn, and I'm going to find a parka slash coat to wear over the top. So, I already have a couple of ideas. That's my tentative plan, chat. I have a pathway to move forward, and I'm really happy that we have a pathway to move forward now. I'm not happy that it took me 2 days of ruminating over this decision. It's 2 days of time wasted, but I will try to speed up my time wasted. Oh. Very done. I have to get Forge VTT later. I know that since you have your birthday spending. Later can't draw investment reasons. Wait, are you getting Forge VTT or Foundry VTT? Because Forge is the web hosting. Foundry is the actual program app thing. You mean Forge or Foundry? But yeah, if you can't afford Foundry right now, then don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Take your time. After all, if the break goes on long enough, then my own Pathfinder campaign will return. So, even if your Pathfinder, even if your campaign isn't able to continue, mine will continue eventually. Once this avatar upgrade process is done. So yeah, you have to rush yourself. So yeah, Leah, what do you think about the horn? Now that you know the full context of the changes we're trying to make. I like the shape where it is now, or at very least the overall shape. If I can learn how to further enhance it with ridges, I might, but I have a feeling that's a skill that I'm going to have to develop later. For now, I'm gonna probably have to stick with how it is right now. In terms of mesh shape, I can try to darken the horn a little bit. I can just easily darken the horn texture and then make it stand out a little bit less. I'm already finding ways to darken it, and yeah, I can always make it darker again. What one do you have done? One low? Oh, Foundry. I have Foundry. I have Forge. I have Foundry. That's the one you want. And you eventually buy it, make sure you buy the right one. Yeah, no rush. Totally no rush. There are a couple of ways I can make the horn darker. Using a Mad Cat, darkening the texture. Couple of ideas. These are all ideas that I can explore easily, so you guys don't have to worry. Right. I think we are done so with the stream. I think we're done, chat. Been going on for 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I don't want to drag the stream on for too long. If we had done the Foundry lesson, then I would have done so with Mitchell, but yeah, since we're not doing that today, I think I'm gonna call it here. Let me see if any one of my friends is streaming. I can do an unofficial raid. I don't see any friend streaming right now, so okay, no. Since there's no one I can unofficial raid, we're in the stream here. Come here, chat. Thank you so much for being here. Whether you're lurking or chatting, everyone. I love you all. Hope you guys enjoy your time here. And I hope to see you next time, chat. Thanks again for helping me go through my avatar designing, helping me find a pathway forward for making changes to my avatar upgrade as we go along. Thank you so much for always being here. I love you guys. Thank you. Let me go through my usual end of stream stuff. Thank you so much to Maka for the $10 tip. Thank you so much, Maka. Thank you. And next up, thank you so much to my amazing extra mile supporters. Thank you to Lucky, Crab, VRChat, Oxy, and Maka for always giving me a big tip energy. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Thank you. And next up, thank you to Leah, Maka, Sakito, Kylon, Lucky, Shu, DJ, Cass, God Reactor, and Dova112 for supporting me on Patreon fansly. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. And last but not least, thank you to each and every one of you for stopping by here during the live stream, or stopping by on the VOD after. Thank you so much for coming. I love you guys. You guys keep me going. You really do. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button down below if you enjoy my content, and also to feed the YouTube algorithm. It's important to feed the YouTube algorithm after all. And I am going to check out my socials, my Discord, my Twitch, my Twitter. I also stream on Twitch, although my Twitch has currently been turned into a Nike stream platform where I stream Nike just to take a break from avatar work. If you guys are interested in watching me Google at titties and ass, you guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitch. I'm also technically thinking of starting on Kick someday soon. Thinking about it. I'll let you guys know if I end up going through with that idea. I've seen a lot of people saying that they're going to Kick. Even Blue Haze is going to Kick. Tosha, VRChat, says a lot of his friends have gone over to Kick. I don't know if it's worth it for me to go to Kick, but I have been really thinking about it. I even have a Kick profile now that's all set up, so I might use it someday soon, when I'm not distracted by avatar upgrading, but I'll let you guys know as usual. Alright, chat. In any case. I'll see you guys again soon, alright? I love you all. Bye-bye. Enjoy the sounds of the beach. Mm.